The school board work session begins in 1 minute. Please take your seats. Again, the school board work session begins in 1 minute.
I now call the May 8th, 2025 Administrative Briefing and Work Session of the Marion County School Board to order at 9 a.m. Please silence your electronic devices to avoid disturbing others. Mirroring and modeling how our students begin each day, I ask that you please pause with us for a moment of silence. Please join me. Thank you. I will now read our board commitment statement. We are the Marion County School District Leadership Team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first. We will leave a legacy of success. I'd now like to ask the school board attorney to explain the rules for the public work session. Good morning, Attorney Powers.
Thank you, Chair Conrad. This work session is a public meeting as defined in Florida's Sunshine Law. The board is dedicated to full transparency in its meetings and its work. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board has adopted uniform meeting procedures, including the right for citizens to participate. The board will allow public comment regarding any work session item listed on today's agenda at the appropriate time. Speakers must fill out a request form located in the lobby and hand it to the board clerk. After the board and superintendent have completed their discussion on a particular agenda item, the board clerk will call speakers' names in the order received. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As required by the Sunshine Law, the board must maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum throughout its meeting. Finally, speakers must be very careful not to violate the privacy rights of others, especially students and their family members, by mentioning their names or other identifying information. Thank you for your attention to these important rules.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. Good morning, Ms. Martinez-Young. Can you please provide the proof for publication for today's meeting?
The notice for the May 8th, 2025 work session was published in the Ocala Gazette on April 25th, 2025. Proof of publication has been attached to board docs under proof of publication.
Thank you. All right, we'll now begin our work session. We only have one item today. The board wanted to keep the superintendent search as a topic as we move forward this process. And so we're going to open it up for discussion. I know, Dr. Campbell, you had some initial ideas that you shared at our last meeting about a survey, so I thought I'd let you lead the discussion.
Okay. Well, I don't necessarily have anything that I uploaded. I have gathered a little bit of information just kind of as work product, nothing necessarily to share just yet. In looking at the most recent superintendent searches that have happened in both St. John County as well as St. Johns County as well as Monroe. You can actually go to their websites. If you just Google St. John Superintendent Search, they have a website. Same thing with Monroe Superintendent Search. And whenever you get to their websites, then there's a tab for community input. And so what those community input tabs then have are the results from their surveys and their town hall meetings. What I would first say is there's a couple of questions I think that we as a board need to answer. And in the process, if we're interested in hiring a search firm, these are things that obviously search firms have done for both of these districts. If we're trying to do as much as we can on our own, then that's a question we need to answer. So if we would like to potentially save some of the costs of a search firm and still conduct a search similarly to the way we just did our interim search, but kind of put all the onus on us, I think that's a question we need to answer. And so before we get into an actual survey, I think that it would be helpful if we had some kind of common ground on the direction that we as a board would like to take. Understanding that a search firm is going to cost us $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. I don't know. But I do think that it's possible if we took the ownership of some of this, inclusive of community survey, as well as a couple of town hall meetings that we didn't necessarily task staff with scheduling as much as we, one of us, two of us, three, however we want to handle that. But I think it's imperative that if we are moving in the direction to not only have some kind of electronic survey, but also to have at least 3 different town halls, because some people are not going to complete a survey. Some people are, so I want to make sure we get as much community input as possible, but also want to understand the rest of the board's perspective on that. And then if we come to some consensus on, do we want a search firm? Do we not want a search firm? Then we can talk through what surveys, locations, all that can look like. So if that's okay.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell.
Dr. James has her hand
Dr.
up.
James.
So I think I'm in the same pattern of thought. I just have one, I think, variant in that I would actually like to know what the community wants the board to do, since the community doesn't get to elect anymore and they elect us to appoint. I love the idea of a town hall. I would love to see this board create a survey, and then since we have 5 districts, we each hold a town hall in our district, because I think it could get muddy if more than one of us are at one town hall. So we each hold a town hall in our district at a school, and that's an opportunity for the community to share with each of us their thoughts. We do that in conjunction with a survey, and then we have a work session where we all share the thoughts from the community, from the town halls, and we go over the results of the survey. And from there, this board then makes a decision what we do next. And maybe then we will either use that data or have to do town halls again if we hire a national firm and do the whole national search. Or maybe from those town halls and survey, the community will tell us, hopefully overwhelmingly one way or the other, that would be my hope, that they don't want to do a national search and they want us to figure it out, or give Dr. Brewer time to figure it out, or I don't know. I don't know what the community will say, but I think I want that data before then I make a decision about what we do next. So, and maybe the summer would be a good time to host town halls, or as we get close to the start of the school year, maybe at the beginning of August. I think we're at this really tough spot, because I don't want to schedule them in the summer and then people miss the opportunity to come. So, I mean, maybe we could do it right when school's about to start. And so it's kind of like because schools are kind of getting back open and reminds people to get back into the swing of things. I don't know, but that has been my concern about the timeline and the survey. And maybe we let the survey go all summer, and then the conclusion of the survey is the town halls in August, and then we have a work session in August to discuss the data. I don't know, that's a thought. I have hesitation of tasking the community with participation in the summer, when historically the district, I think we struggle with community participation in the summer.
SBC this morning.
That's just my thought, but I love, I think if we all host our own town halls, I think that's awesome.
I like that idea, Board. Dr. Campbell.
And I like the idea as well. Honestly, my thought almost would be a little bit in reverse, though, that our town halls actually need to be sooner rather than later. I think right now, the community is talking about it. Right now, we know that we've just been in transition. Scheduling them in the month of May will be challenging. I understand that, and depending on where we go. But if there's any way for us to hold our own individual town halls in the month of May and also have the survey kick off at the same time or something, maybe survey kicks June 1, but that while people are talking about it and while it's top of mind, what I don't want to see is us go all the way through the summer and then people, they're all like all over the place. Their kids are doing whatever and they're in a new school and all the things that are happening, and some of our stakeholders that are engaged right now might not be as engaged in August. Yeah. That's my only thought on the timing.
I think my concern, and I don't disagree with you, so my concern would be finding a date that no school in the district has an event that night. Because I would never want a parent to say, well, I couldn't come to that because Sunrise had their whatever, or Anthony had their whatever, and so I couldn't come because my kid was being honored at this. And so finding a day between tomorrow and May 29th that one of the schools in your district doesn't have an event is gonna be, I think, that, with also giving proper notification. And like I would say proper notification is at least 5 days. I mean, probably more like 10 days, right? 10 work days. So we're in the 20s now then, and so we're in the last 2 weeks of school, and finding a time then that no school doesn't have something for our own district, I think is gonna be a challenge.
Attorney Powers.
Just a reminder to the board that if a search term, or if a search firm is selected, they may have a specific plan, pattern, or structure for how they wish to go about community engagement. And that may conflict with the way that we would initially set up engagement that we see. So that's something for the board to consider and discuss.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Board Member Thor.
Thank you. And with that, it's been a while. We've only done one superintendent search, and it's been a while. So I think that maybe as a leadoff, sooner than later, like at our very next work session, it would be great to have Rick Collins come and give everybody an overview, and for some of us, it's a refresher of how the search was conducted last time, to help us make a decision with more information. I worry a little bit about piecemealingness. I worry about duplication. Time is important, money is important. If we decide to go with a search firm, they've got expertise just pulling up St. John's, how many surveys they did and all these different groups. I love the idea of the town hall. I think that's great. But those are some of my beginning thoughts with this.
Thank you, Board Member Thrower. Reverend Cummings.
In looking at this, I understand the idea of the town hall meetings. I also understand the idea of the surveys. But I'm looking at time. I'm looking at the fact that properly getting the message out to everyone. Marion County is a large county. To say we'll do one town hall in our district, some of our districts are huge, and one town hall may not be enough. I could possibly see us doing a town hall at the beginning of the summer, a survey throughout the summer, and then possibly another town hall right before school starts to try and cover as many people as we can, but also doing a town hall with our own staff. They're a vital part of this process as well. One thing that we learned in the last superintendent search is that there were different groups that those firms took into consideration. Staff, administrators, all those different people. So we're trying to do a survey to figure out if we even want a search firm. So I think we still need to go to, we can pull the data, we can pull the information from the last one and see what groups that firm touched, and make sure that we also touch those if we're gonna do a initial survey to see if we're gonna go with the firm. That's what I think we need to go first, get that information at next work session, because I don't want the summer to be idle. I don't want us to sit around and wait for the whole summer to be idle. As Dr. Campbell said, you may lose some interest from some of our partners that want us to move forward with this process. So I think we need to pull that information from the last superintendent search, bring in Mr. Collins, like you said, see how we proceeded there. Look at those stakeholder groups that we pulled in to get information from. Make sure that we're touching those same stakeholder groups again, because they were vital in us selecting a superintendent, and using that information, that data from those surveys to determine how we proceed as far as with the search firm.
There was one
Thank you.
thing that I forgot.
Yes.
And I had shared it last time, and it seems to be better received and feels more secure to our employees to have an external survey versus, from a third party. I wish it wasn't like that, but I think we'll get more participation.
And Madam Chair, also, and I think we're good enough to get and I agree with Ms. Dora, that we can get some type of QR code that leads straight to a survey that we all can have, that everybody can have, that can put on the site. That helps us to be able to put on our Facebook pages. It's just another method of getting it out there to get as many people to do the survey as possible. What's happening is we're missing groups of people.
Right.
We're missing groups of people. So my goal is to make sure we get as much input from the entire Marion County community.
Okay, yes, Dr. Campbell.
So Chair, with that thought, just hear me out as this is one of those like thinking as we're speaking. So let's hypothesize that we created the questions and we knew what the questions were going to be and how we wanted them to look. There's a way, and I'm just using SurveyMonkey as a tool. It doesn't have to be SurveyMonkey, but allow me to use that as an option. There's a way that if it was created, then that then can be shared with other groups to then replicate that. And so potentially we have each of our unions then have the exact same survey that they then send to their groups. Potentially we have the CEP do one. We have the REC and the DNC. We have, we put them in retirement communities. We put them, and we just say, each one of your individual groups, here are the questions we want, and here's when we want the data back, and then they give it back to us. I don't know that they're willing to do that. I mean, that's putting a lot on other people, but I think the most important thing about a survey is that we develop what questions we want answered, because if we're not actually asking, if we're not actually asking, do you believe Marion County School Board should conduct a national search for the next superintendent? If we don't actually ask that question with a yes or no, then we honestly don't get that answer in just the ambiguous nature. The one thing that I found unique about the survey, I believe, that was conducted, I did pull the Ray and Associates chart that they had put together, and I also looked at some of this data in these other other searches that were done. It looks as if the searches that have most recently been done are all with open-ended questions. And that I understand. I know, as a researcher who prefers qualitative, I understand the need, but wanting to actually tabulate in a quantitative nature to actually have thousands of responses, it's so much easier to have it quantitatively. So, but it does appear that the most recent searches surveys, including the one that Ray and Associates did, was like, what characteristics would you like for in the next superintendent? Or what characteristics do you think, blah, whatever. And then it's open-ended, and it causes someone on that search firm team to tabulate all of that data and assign a point value and put them in category. So I think it's important, I say all of that big thing to say, that we come up with the exact questions that we want to ask in a survey, and potentially those are also the questions that guide us through town hall conversations. Mm-hmm. And however that looks. I mean, some of the survey kind of ideas that I would think that we should do scales, like a 1 to 7, like using the following scale, what value would you say the next superintendent has experiencing managing budgets of 500 million or more? Like, I'm just literally just throwing out, or strategic planning experience, or classroom experience, and have like a 1 to 7 scale, and that they rate. I mean, again, this is all just, we're thinking out loud. These are all things that a search firm would do for us. But if we're not really wanting to get to, well, if Rick Collins comes, and I agree, having Rick, I've said that probably every public meeting we've had since the resignation letter. So I absolutely are on board with Rick Collins coming, and I think we've heard that from at least 3 of us. So maybe May 22nd we can make that happen. But if we are going to do our own survey, and that's just an idea of how we might be able to do it.
Board Member Thorpe.
Talk, so, and you didn't see Cummings, I'll go after him.
Go ahead.
Okay, just trying to. And again, yeah, having Mr. Collins here is going to be a good refresher, because I'm trying to remember if we shared criteria with Ray and Associates, that these are questions that are important to us. This was at a different time, and it's all in how the questions are worded, because if someone reads national search, then automatically some people may think, well, then locals can't apply, So we have to be very careful about how these survey questions are worded, and I think that there's value, and this is a very, very important decision. And there are extreme professionals at this that do this for a living, that understand the pratfalls. And so I just don't want to fall into a mess when we could avoid that from the start. To me, penny wise, pound foolish. I'm all about saving money, but in a budget of almost $1 billion, even if it's 60,000 to get it right the first time, I'm more than willing to approve that.
All right, thank you. Reverend Cummings.
If we do this survey, it sounds like we're probably going to be doing a survey, I don't want us to get so detailed into a survey about the particulars about the superintendent's job and all that, because you could confuse the public if we do get a firm. They're going to ask their own certain questions, and it could just really be a mess. I don't want us to get I don't want this board to get to the point that we become the firm, the search firm. And I'm hoping that we don't get to that point. I'm hoping that we will go with the direction of a firm, because it really muddies the water, and it could make any of us look bad. It could make any of us look like we have a personal preference. It could tarnish the whole process. So I think that's why that's not always, that's the one time we did the process of going through a firm, so that everything was very transparent. Everything was out of our hands. But the firm took the information or the data from us, what we wanted, and they implemented all of that into the search, which makes more sense than us, because Dr. James may have one thing that she's looking for particular, I may have one thing, everybody have their own one thing, and it could come out in a biased way, and we don't want to tarnish that image of us as a board.
Okay, thank you, Reverend Cummings.
Either one of us.
Well, yeah, my idea of a town hall and a survey is to understand what the community wants us to do next. Not what the job looks like, not who the person is, not what their experiences are. My buy-in to a survey and a town hall sequence is to understand what they want us to do. Do they want us to hire local? Do they want us to do a national search? Do they want us to sit steady and see how it goes? What do the people who elect us want us to do? That's what I'm looking to understand from a survey in town halls. And then we do a national search and we have a in-depth survey. But I'm not looking for that type of survey right now.
Thank you for the clarification, Dr. James. Yes, Dr. Campbell.
So I think the way I started, when you handed it off to me, I think the way I started was to gauge the board's feedback on, do we want a search firm? Because that's really, we have to come up with that answer. And if the answer is, and I believe I just heard Board Member Cummings say, he doesn't want us to be the search firm, but he does want us to have a search firm, then I think the next step is Rick Collins. And I don't know that it warrants us actually having the survey to ask the community, do you want us to do a search, if there are at least 3 of us that agree we need to do one. And so I respect that we still want to value what the community's input is along this process, and they absolutely will be able to do that with a firm who will then do all the town halls and the surveys and all of those things. I use this illustration. I'm going to use a very interesting illustration because right now, and Kevin may be familiar with this because our alma mater university is in the process of a president search. And they've had a search committee. They've done a lot of things with that. And ironically, all of the candidates that have come back, the 4 top candidates, all have been a part of the university before and actually have all been in our church system and all of that. And I don't know that at first when I saw that, I was like, well, why did they spend all this money on a search firm? You know why? Because the community of alumni and those on all want the next president to be affiliated with the church, which is, and you can have a search all over everywhere, all over the nation, and all the top candidates, and these people aren't all local, but they are all affiliated, and so that's what the search firm was able to do. But it was a third party that did it. And so that's my illustration. I even used that with Dr. Brewer. I told her, she's like, why do you want a search firm? I'm like, let me explain. I'm going to use our illustration. So Kevin may or may not agree with all of that, but he's been a part of that process too and probably filled out an alumni survey. I just say all that to say that sometimes that third party voice still validates that our local candidates are top notch and that we need to consider them as the selection. But I do think when it's taken out of our hands, it doesn't make it look like we're pushing that narrative. So I'm in favor of us bringing Rick Collins in, start talking about RFP for a firm. Let us get that. Is that a Amber Alert? Yeah, we're all about to get them on our phones. Sorry, public, if you're hearing that. But if we're at least in consensus, or the majority of us at least believe that's the next direction, then all of the conversation about a survey today is irrelevant because it'll all happen with them.
All right, thank you, Board. And I've had brief conversations with Attorney Powers and with Mr. Collins, trying to anticipate the needs and the wants of the Board. Mr. Collins is available on the 22nd, so if you all are in agreement, I would like to invite him to go through the process and, tell us the ups and the downs. I know 2 of you have been through the process before, but it's been 5 years or so, and 3 of us haven't been through the process. I did want to share, just for the public to know, and us as well, is that 5 years ago, the cost of a national search was $40,000, $45,000, and $34,000. So just to give you a ballpark on what we were looking at, or what we will be looking at spending. And so I just need to, it sounds like everybody's in agreement with that, and that'll be our next step for the 22nd. Everyone's good with that? Yep. Okay, all right. That was great and not too painful. All right, any further comments on that topic? One other thing I did want to mention, Dr. Campbell, I know you really enjoy working on job descriptions, and that was brought up at our last meeting, and so why it was on my mind, I wanted to bring up about the superintendent's job description, and as we move forward, I know we don't need that immediately, it's later down the line, but you help me remember that we want to work on that and update that moving forward.
With the search firm, and whenever we potentially, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but whenever we see, maybe as they do the survey and the things that they're looking for, then we incorporate the things into our job description. That's completely appropriate.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Madam Chair, and I do want to kind of clear up something too, because the statement was made concerning that job description that was clouding the air on that, because it talked about sitting and standing and all that kind of stuff like that. Some job descriptions have to have stuff in it based on OSHA standards. Right. And so for it to be put out to the public as if that that was not something that's common. That's common in job descriptions, how much you can push, pull, and lift, and all those types of things. And in our job description, it does statutorily list the statute. So I want the public to know that our job description is not a horrible job description of a superintendent. It is actually accurately, but I don't want the public to think that that we did a haphazard job on what's out there, because it is correct.
Reverend Cummings, I appreciate that clarification, because I'm not intending that it's a terrible job description, just it was a good reminder for me that as positions come available, we have been diligent about updating our jobs descriptions, and so this is just more of the same. It's good protocol, good procedure to reevaluate. Anything else? Any further comments? Okay. We are going to move along with some meeting reminders. There's a special school board meeting scheduled for May 13th at 5:30 p.m. Our regular scheduled school board meeting will also be on May 13th, beginning promptly at the conclusion of the special board meeting. And with that, we'll lead into board comments. Ms. Martinez-Young, do you have anything to share with the board?
What's the category title you want for this?
Superintendent search, it just stays the same.
Gonna stay the same?
Anything more specific?
I don't want anything more specific unless we want to be more specific. I just think that I wouldn't want us to find ourselves in a pickle because we lacked specificity, and then we talked about something. I mean, a big umbrella is nice because then we can talk about a variety of things, but then if we lack specificity, then they didn't know we were going to talk about what we were talking about. So, I mean, if Rick Collins is coming to do a presentation, in my brain, that's an additional item. So that is an additional item. I thought we were adding an item, and then the board would have a secondary discussion that could be broader about the superintendent search. But Rick Collins is going to do a presentation on RFP process for superintendent search, procurement, I don't know, whatever. But then we're able to then have a broader discussion, because maybe after we have that discussion, then we talk about town halls again, or we talk about this again, or we talk about that again. And if that is, if those are two separate things, I just think for clarity to the community, they would know we're getting a presentation about this, and then we may have a separate discussion that's broader. That's been only my only hesitation in making sure that we're clear to the community about what each topic is.
Yes.
I don't disagree. I would think that for this next meeting, that just adding, uploading, I'm looking at what we got sent a while back and what he presented back in 2019. So whatever he intends to present should be uploaded. But I want to be careful that we don't box ourselves in either. So it's a superintendent search process. You know, that goes in all kinds of directions. But if there's something specific that we know we're going to be talking about, like he's going to be presenting, then by all means, let's upload the information.
And as long as we can defend our position, I don't care either way. I just want to make sure that we are incredibly transparent and crystal clear with where our discussions are going, and so that we're not vague. Like, there's no attachment for today, right? And so, you know, there's no way for a community member to prepare, and there's no way for them to, unless they watch live or watch back, they have no idea what we discussed. And so I just want to make sure that we are trying to be as diligent as possible to preload and front load for the community the specifics we're discussing, so then no one can say we lacked transparency if they missed the meeting live. That's my only, and I don't actually think we had discussion, right? You didn't, I appreciate that there's no one in the audience to discuss, but we didn't ask for
Public comment.
Oh, public
comment.
I did. Any public comment? Okay.
From the throng.
Yes, from the throng. I told Mr. Collins I would reach out to him after today's meeting, and so I can certainly ask him if he's going to have, a PowerPoint or something that he wants to share with us, and we definitely can have that uploaded, so it's part of the presentation. Ms. Martinez-Young, does that give you enough to move forward on? Okay, thank you. Yes.
Would you also like for me to upload the summary that I had sent to you all in an email of our prior? I'll upload that onto the same item when Mr. Collins' department creates it, so you have both there for reference. It'll be handy to follow along.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Powers. That's a great idea. Yes, Board Member Thor.
I guess I would also feel more comfortable as we get to the end of this conversation, Attorney Powers, do you think we're well covered by continuing to title it superintendent search? Should we add process, procedures? And then I think we've all agreed that whatever's being uploaded, including past history, should be in there.
Yes, and I think that just entitling it superintendent search discussion, rather than necessarily procedures, because it might imply that we're creating a procedure.
Right.
But the discussion is just ongoing opportunities for community engagement and for people to speak and for board members to express. So, and then
We don't
and then
go
a
off
separate,
topic.
exactly, and then a separate item for specifically the RFP portion of the discussion, I believe, is appropriate.
Okay. That makes me feel better. Thanks.
Okay, all right, very good. Attorney Powers,
Ma'am,
anything to share with us?
nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. James?
Not much. I just want to confirm what you said. So you said you think we need to have a separate item for the RFP and then change the title of the superintendent search to superintendent search discussions.
Yes.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that that was captured because you kind of like said it and then we closed the conversation. So I wanted to make sure that that
I
was
think that's good.
clear.
I-
No, I don't have any comments for today. We have a busy month. May is always a very busy month. It's Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you to, and I saw some dialogue this week about how Teacher Appreciation Week really becomes Staff Appreciation Week, and we show our appreciation on our campuses to all individuals who support students. And I do think it has transitioned to that. Even as a parent, I include the paraprofessionals and other support professionals that support the learning of my children. And I think it's a team effort. Our instructors on our campus don't just come in the form of teachers, they come in paraprofessionals and custodial staff and bus drivers. And while we have separate appreciation weeks for different classes of employees, Teacher Appreciation Week has really become Instructional Personnel Appreciation Week, and I just want to share how grateful I am for the educators that not only impact my own children, but all of the children in Marion County Public Schools.
Right. Thank you, Dr. James. Reverend Cummings?
No comments.
All right, thank you. Dr. Campbell?
My only comment, Chair, in addition to Teacher Appreciation, it's interesting. Actually, I have two comments, I guess. Being among teachers last night at Osceola Middle's 8th grade awards, just reflecting on the years now that I've been an Osceola parent, it's amazing whenever you've had 3 children go through the same school and just how much of an impact so many, and yes, that happens at the elementary school level, but you don't often have the same teachers touch all of your children, whereas when you're in middle school or high school, traditionally you do. And so certainly just super grateful for the work that is done all throughout our district every day. Tremendous hard work that's happening, and just grateful for all of those folks. And I did want to make you all aware, if you haven't seen in the legislative updates, something that has passed both the House and the Senate in the state, waiting for the governor's signature, something that I alluded to about cell phone policy, that if in fact the governor does sign it, what it will mean is every student in every public school will not be able to use a cell phone, elementary and middle school, and then they're doing a pilot for high school. So if you had not seen that, I had said we've done our own pilot because Osceola is one that had it and now they don't, and their data is, I'm certainly certain that it has shown a significant improvement. But I wanted to just make you all aware, if you had not seen that, still awaiting governor's signature, but we'll see where that goes. The only other thing I wanted to mention, and you all received this information via email this week, I believe, because I was the board member that requested it, about the Fordham students on waiting lists. And so I know that we've talked about this before. I don't know that we as a board have given any direction, and if we are interested in giving direction, I'm interested in the conversation. I understand that we had a limited number of students this year that this would impact. And I also understand the sanctity of our lottery system. So I understand all of these different individual pieces to this. I also understand our traditional practice of prioritizing siblings already in the school for the next sibling. I understand all of those practices. But I think it's imperative that we come up with a plan to determine what we do with these students from Fordham second grades. And we have several students that did not choose to even apply for one of our school choice options. Their family has chosen to do something else, and that's fine. But if the family is choosing to want to stay in Marion County Public Schools, I think that we need to ensure that we create sanctity around that. And we've never had the opportunity to do that. So again, I understand our prior practices. I understand the sanctity of the lottery. I understand the sanctity of sibling priority. But how do we create the sanctity of Fordham public school students also being afforded a magnet opportunity, just like what they've gotten in those early years? And if right now there isn't a solution, and if the board wants to have a solution, I think we need to give directive for that, because there isn't one right now. There are still 4 students on waiting lists for schools, and I know for a fact that at least one of the families that's on a waiting list is considering going private because they're not getting in one of these other programs. And that's okay if this board is okay with that. But a year from now, we're going to have 50 of these, not 17. And so I just wanted to see what the board's thoughts were on that. If you think it's imperative that we create sanctity around magnet school program that we've created at Fordham Early Learning Academy, and what that looks for when those kids get to be 3rd graders. So that's all I wanted to bring up today in board comments. Again, right now there isn't a plan. I'm not saying that the team in place isn't going to create a plan. I don't know that that has been a directive that this board has given them. So those are my thoughts on that.
Could I offer a thought on her thought? I think we have agreed on this consistently, and we kind of had a work session agenda on it, but then it was like kind of lackluster. And there's not unless we add units to the magnet schools, there is a very slim chance that all of the children next year will have placement. It's just the statistics of it. So this was kind of thrown as like this flow chart to the board maybe a little bit ago. And I agree with Dr. Campbell that I think, we're meeting probably 80%. I haven't done the math, but about 80% of them are getting placement, and that's great. But we're going to have to address adding units to the magnet schools to be able to address permanent placement. Or the board needs to decide it's not a priority and let the odds be ever in their favor. But I would love to have a work session where the board gets to decide what we do next, or we get clear direction from our interim superintendent on what we do next, and then the board makes a decision. But I don't really feel like we had an opportunity to make a decision this time. It was just kind of like, this is our solution we've piecemealed together, and it appears that it worked for the most of the students. But I am not a fan of losing anyone to private, especially when, like Dr. Campbell just said, the rules keep getting made for public school, but all of the people who take public school money and go to private don't have to use the rules that are being passed. And so there's a lack of equity there. And so I would just love to see us keep all of our kids and serve them well. So I welcome a work session agenda item maybe in the fall where we can really work through what this process is going to look like, and we have it shored up before the window opens in, I guess, November, right? Right, Dr. Campbell, the school choice window would open in November?
It does. I mean, I think certainly, I agree. I'm sorry if we're, are we open discussion right now, Chair? So if I agree, a work session. We need to come to some, and potentially, again, interim superintendent may come with suggestions, and great. But if we wanted to make some kind of prioritization, even for these 4 that are on wait lists right now, I think that could happen from these board seats if we wanted to do that. For 4 students, I don't know. I'm just, again, once we lose them, we're not getting them back. I mean, we just need to go ahead and be, and we have raised them so well in wonderful program at Fordham Early Learning Academy that has been amazing. And so they're going to be wonderfully successful wherever they go. But my hope is that we can find a home for all of these students. And so I agree, a work session for our 50 students next year, 100% agree. But if we have some kind of agreement that there needs to be a plan for these 4 kids, I would be open to that conversation too.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
let me jump in on this one. One of the things that when we started Fordham were that we were trying to create something that would be very beneficial to those kids, that would help them get a jump start. Mm-hmm. And so if these 4 kids have done those things, and the families have done those things. We need to figure out a way to get them to where they're supposed to be, because that was one of the selling points for these families even taking their kids to Fordham. Remember, we stated that this was going to be a new program or something new, something innovative that would help those kids get to a better place. So I think this board has the power and the authority to do that, and I think this board needs to do that. There's 4 kids, because what that says is, what if we don't, what we're saying is that the program is not meeting the goals that we set for it.
I think if I can offer though, the limiting factor here,
It's units.
well, not for, to this year, it's not units, that's not a limiting factor. The limiting factor here is that Madison, uniquely from Jones and South Ocala, which are the 3 schools that are mentioned on this spreadsheet, Madison doesn't have flexibility because they fill with choice to the capacity. And then the only time it moves is if a kid chooses another option. Jones and South Ocala fill to a percentage because they have a zoning pattern. So Madison is never going to be an option, and 2 of these families only want Madison because it would take them over the class capacity, which, of course, understanding that happens in our zone schools all the time. So if that's the decision we want to make, then that's fine as well. But I just want to make sure that there's that flexibility is not as there because of the no zone students, just like Fordham caps at their number and they don't go over. So we just need to understand that. But and I don't know where the 3rd grade numbers are for the other schools. Understanding how many zone 3rd graders Jones will have next year and where that puts them. And those are all nuances that I think Ms. Thomas and Mr. Ayers would need to be a part of, but making exceptions for these 4 kids would certainly be something I would be palatable with if we're looking to get consensus on that, and then the chair can figure out how that lands with staff. Maybe that, I'm certainly a supporter of that if we can figure it out. Yes. I would be in agreement with that, Chair.
We haven't heard from Board Member Thrower yet, so do you want to chime in on this or save it with your board comments?
We're talking about it.
Okay,
so
go
we
for
might as
it.
well
Go
keep it
for it.
going. I almost feel like this is turning into a work session item.
Sorry.
So, it's very valid, and it's a good problem to have. We have grown as a district. We just have a lot more students now. And we need more room for kids. We just do. And parents are letting us know loud and clear where they want their kids to be. So if the building's not big enough, then we need to do something about that. In my opinion, we need to evolve. And just because it's the way it's always been, as Board Member Campbell just shared, past practice and whatnot, we need to look at today's reality and how we're going to address it. If that means that a few kids from Fordham that are still looking need to be placed, I think that is something. I'm always a little uncomfortable sitting up here saying that's what the school should do, but I would really like to see that conversation occur and if that accommodation can happen. But it's a Band-Aid. There needs to be further conversation. And so I would definitely like to see this as a work session item sooner than later. I would like for staff to bring to us several options and start truly having a conversation. It is a great problem to have. We have a lot of kids, contrary to what you see on If It Bleeds, It Leads media, that are doing great things, have a lot of talent, skills, and ability, and they also already have transportation, which is helpful. So, and Fordham, the old Evergreen campus is underutilized, right now. And we also have another school, Reddick, that's woefully underutilized. So to me, it's not location. I've always felt this way. I don't care if the building's old and it's affordable. It's the teaching that's occurring inside that makes the difference. The fact that we have newer schools, hey, that's a potential bonus. But yes, we definitely need to have a conversation before the state has it for us. And I keep reiterating that. We do need to move on this.
So Chair, to wrap that thought up, I think I heard all of us at least say that we would like for something to happen with these 4 children. And so, Chair, I'm comfortable with you getting with staff, and if each one of these families is presented with their 3 choices and figure out which one they want to take, they may not all take Madison Street. 1 or 2 of them are on South Ocala's waiting list as well. So, I mean, if those 4 are given the option and we make that exception from the board table, I think we have consensus that we want that exception made, and then obviously have the work session for the future conversations for Fordham students, because we want our community to be aware. We understand what we've created, this gym we've created at Fordham. If people aren't aware of Fordham, please check it out, because it's pretty special. But we also need to let them know that we're going to take care of these kids too. I mean, that we understand what we've done, and that we want to make sure that we're protecting their sanctity too. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Yes, Ms. Thrower.
I guess it's my comment time anyway, and so I will just finish with saying that at least as of April 22nd, there were 23 students, I think, on the Madison lottery wait list. I worry about that, you know. We want to be able to serve all kids without deteriorating the quality of a program, you know.
Whole classroom.
What?
That's a whole classroom. 23. I mean,
Yes, that is a whole classroom. So, yes, I look forward to the future conversation on that. It is an interesting time at the schools because there's so much celebration going on of our great instructional employees, and really everyone at this point of the year is supporting each other and celebrating successes. And people are also really stressing, you know, it is testing time, and when I talk to principals and hear how they're balancing all that, you know, it's mind-boggling, truly, everything that they're doing on their campuses right now. And so I also just wanted to say a quick word to the students that may be on the bubble of graduating or getting to their next grade, or, you know, moving from elementary to middle or middle to high. You know, you're almost at the finish line, and anything that can be done, you've got a lot of support out there to help get you there. So it's not too late yet. But we're definitely in the home stretch, especially at the high school level. You know, certain tests still need to be passed, that type of thing. Don't give up now, you know, because it's not over. So I think I'll just leave it with that for today.
All right, thank you. Board, I just have a few items that I wanted to share with you. There is a district retirement, speaking of celebrating teachers. Some are celebrating more than others. With a district retirement on May 30th at 9 a.m. at the Weber Center. Ms. Martinez, would you mind sending out a calendar invite for that?
When is it again? What's the date?
May 30th at 9 a.m.
at the
Weber Center. And along with that, our Surtax Oversight Committee met yesterday. Is that correct? Wednesday? The days are getting away from me. Wednesday. Yes, it was yesterday. Board, and Ms. Martinez, if you will take these dates down also so we can send calendar invites. The next 3 meetings are scheduled for July 9th at 4 p.m., September 24th at 4 p.m., and December 3rd at 4 p.m. here at MTI. And so our initial meeting yesterday was just to go.
Actually, Tuesday. I got that right.
It was Tuesday? Okay, thank you, thank you. We went over the bylaws, and they elected a chair and a vice chair, and so we're ready to rock and roll, ready to get started. So I just wanted to share those with you so that you had the invitation. We had also the privilege of participating in the Take Stock graduation. I just want to share what a fabulous event that was. I always appreciate being a part of that. I know several of you were able to join us there. It was just a great experience. I also wanted to mention that we've had some difficulty with board docs. I just wanted the community to know that is not on our end. It is not our staff. It is an issue with board docs, and so we are hoping that they get that resolved if it's not resolved already, because I know it was a challenge all day yesterday and the evening before. So just wanted you to be aware of that. And lastly, I just wanted to say congratulations to Miss Martinez Young. She got married has it been 2 weeks? Not quite 2 weeks. Anyway, so just wanted to say congratulations to you. We're celebrating with you and practicing saying your new name. So with that, board, we'll wrap up. If there is no further business, we will adjourn this work session at 9:53 a.m. Thank you.